أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي زدني علما وارزقني فهما. O Allah, increase me in knowledge and true understanding. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Ida Murnisha Mari from YMS EduTech Learning Hub. Inshallah, we help students to improve in math and science by 2 grades in less than 3 months. So Alhamdulillah, today is our second e-math Facebook live streaming, and this is suitable for Secondary 3, GCEO as well as GCEN level students of 2018. So Alhamdulillah, last week I have shared with you how to solve quadratic equations using factorization. Okay, let's just do a recap on what is quadratic equation. Quadratic equation comes in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c. So last week we have touched on factorization, where we solved by using the crisscross method. Okay, we used the crisscross method to help us solve the quadratic equation. Today I'm going to share with you how to solve quadratic equations using completing the square. Alright, and we still have 2 more ways to solve quadratic equation, which is by quadratic formula, which I will share with you next week. And on the last week of November, on our last lesson together, I'll be sharing with you how to solve quadratic equation using graphical method. Okay, so without further ado, let us now look at how to solve quadratic equations using completing the square. Okay, this is not popular among students. Okay, students tend to avoid solving quadratic equation using completing the square unless the question states so. Okay, usually students will use either factorization or quadratic formula. However, let me tell you this: completing the square is important in helping you to solve graphical, or helping you to solve quadratic equations in graphical form. Alright, so we'll touch on that next time. So now I'm going to share with you how to solve completing the square. I have already dissected the steps, and I found that there are 6 steps altogether if you are required to solve for the x value. Alright, but if let's say you're just asked to factorize using completing the square, you just need to stop up till step 5. Okay? So are we ready to look at an example? Okay, so an example that I have here is 2x squared plus 7x minus 3 is equals to 0. Okay, before we go into solving the equation via the 6 steps, okay, let us just familiarize ourselves with the terms. Okay, so this is our quadratic equation. The x squared and the x are what we call variables. Okay, and the number in front of the x squared as well as the x, we call them coefficients. Okay, and the number with no x or x to the power of 0, we simply call it to be constant. Okay, it's important for you to know what are these keywords or what are their names, so that when I go through the steps, or when your teacher talk about them, alright, you are familiar with those terms, right, with all those jargons, all those math jargons. Okay, so ready to solve? Okay, so the equation is 2x squared plus 7x minus 3 is equals to 0. So step 1, we have to change the coefficient of x squared to 1. we need to change the coefficient of x squared to 1. So in order to do that, that means we need to divide our 2x squared by 2. Okay? So that will give us x squared plus, okay, we don't just divide the x squared by 2, we have to divide everything by 2 throughout. Okay? So as to equate the equation. So I will have 2x squared divided by 2 will give me x squared. 7x divided by 2, I will have 7 out of 2x minus 3 divided by 2, that will give me 3 out of 2 is equals to 0. 0 divided by 2 will still give me 0. Okay, so that is step 1. Change coefficient of x squared to 1. For those of you who are watching right now or who will be watching later, please share this Facebook live streaming, okay, or share this recorded video later. Alright, so inshallah, when we share something beneficial, Allah will reward us accordingly. Okay, so please share, right? Okay, so we are done with step 1. Step 2, bring constant c to the other side of equation. Okay, so what is constant c? Constant c is the term without x, or the term with x to the power of 0. Okay, so that will be minus 3 out of 2. This minus 3 out of 2 here is what we call constant c. What are we supposed to do to it? We need to bring it to the other side of the equation. So over here I have negative 3 out of 2. When I bring over, I will get positive 3 out of 2. So I will have this x squared plus 7 out of 2x is equals to 3 out of 2. Okay, that is step 2. Okay, next, step 3. Divide coefficient of x by 2. Okay, for this step, unlike step 1, we just need to focus on coefficient of x. We need to divide by 2. So my x squared will remain as it is. X squared plus, so coefficient of x is 7 out of 2. When I divide it by 2, so I will get 7 out of 4. X is equals to, my 3 out of 2 will remain 3 out of 2. Walaikum assalam. So there will be 3 out of 2. Okay. So we are done with step 3. Okay, so now let's move on to step 4. Add the square of this result. Square of this result. Okay, square of this result. So what is the result? The result is this, 7 out of 4. So we are supposed to add the square of this result to both sides of the equation. So what will I have? I will have this, x squared plus 7 out of 4x plus the square of 7 out of 4. So that will be 7 out of 4 square is equals to 3 out of 2 plus 7 out of 4 square. Okay? So that is step 4. I repeat. From step 3, we have divided the coefficient of x by 2. So we got 7 out of 4. So in step 4, we must square the result, which is the 7 out of 4, and add to both sides. So I will have x squared plus 7 out of 4x plus 7 out of 4 squared is equals to 3 out of 2 plus 7 out of 4 squared. Okay? And lastly, step 5, express the side with variable as a perfect square. So we need to identify which side contains variable. So variable are squared and x. Okay, so that means it is our left hand side. What do we need to do? We need to express our left hand side to be a perfect square. So it will look like this. I will have x squared plus 7 out of 4. The whole thing, oops, this one should be x, not x squared. X plus 7 out of 4 square is equals to, okay, then I can compute this side. Because this side is just constant, it's just numbers. So when I compute using my calculator, I will get 4, 9 out of 16. Okay? Okay, lastly now I can solve. So I will have x plus 7 out of 4. So I need to remove the square on the left hand side. When I bring it over to my right hand side, that means I will have a square root. And please remember, when we talk about square root, we have to write down the plus minus sign. Okay? So plus minus square root of 4, 9 out of 16. Okay? Compute this in your calculator. You will have x plus 7 out of 4 is equals to plus minus 2.136. Okay, so now I can easily solve my x value. My x is either minus 3.89 or 0.39. Okay, finish. Alright, so these are the 6 steps in solving quadratic equations using completing the square. Okay, so just a word of advice, how is it that somebody is able to master a strategy or a technique? Okay, so I can share with you 3 simple steps. Number 1, you follow the example. Okay, like in this video, I'm sharing with you an example. So you follow step by step, step 1, step 2 until step 6. And because this video will be recorded, you can easily forward, backward and play and then keep on doing until you're familiar with each step. Okay, so that's 1. Follow the example closely. And then step 2, go and practice on your own. Alright? Go and gather some questions and then solve using completing the square. Okay, and then you check the answer whether you get the correct answer. Alright? So that is step 2. Go and solve a few problems. Okay, don't just solve 1, 2 or 3. Solve a variety of problems. Solve at least 10 questions. Alright? And then step 3, you have not yet mastered until you can teach somebody. Okay, then go and teach a friend who has problems with completing the square, or if let's say if you are sitting for O-level or N-level next year, if you have a sibling who will be in secondary 3 next year, go and teach your sibling how to solve quadratic equation using completing the square. Okay, so those 3 simple steps will help us to master a technique or a strategy. Follow the example, solve variety of questions, and lastly, go and teach somebody. Okay, so like I mentioned, please share this video with those who may benefit from it, and inshallah, Allah will reward us for doing something beneficial, inshallah. Okay, so for those of you who wish to register for a free trial lesson, our GCE O-level math classes are available over at Icon at Changi, Punggol, as well as Jurong East. Alright, so please register at bit.ly/YMS2018 registration. Our classes will start in December, inshallah. Alright, so that's all from me today. I'm Ida Murni Jamari from YMS EduTech Learning Hub. Hurry to success. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.